Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I was just on a prospecting call, so we're going to practice what I preach. Can you guys hear me okay? Thanks, thanks, Jared. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, let's see who's jumping on today. This is going to be week one. I'm going to put my notes up here so we have something tangible to work from. Anybody have any wins from since last week, since we spoke last?
I do, Eric. I had a conversation with an agent last week. Went really good. Larry and I then had a three-way with him, and he's jumping on board from the sounds of it. He's an REO guy.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Larry sent me an
I think
email
you
about
got an
that.
onboarding email. And then I had another agent I spoke to last week. He's a couple counties north of me, REO experience. That went good. Larry and I have a call with him this afternoon.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, quite honestly. Don't, until you're up to about 20 agents under your belt, just use Larry as your to do it all of these. That's the way I did it. That's the way all of our top recruiters have done it. Until you've got about 20, you lean on us to help with that. It just makes the process that much easier. You're not fumbling for what to say, you're not saying the wrong thing. And we keep it focused on what kind of value we can add to that person's life, how we can make their life better. And that's really what it's all about, is how we can do more good for those particular agents. So that's a great win. I'm glad to see us coming around for you. Just ride the momentum, keep it going, keep those conversations going, turn them over to Larry for those follow-up calls, and you'll be surprised how quickly these things can snowball. Any other wins for the week? Anything else that you guys any good stuff that you wanted to let everybody know about and share in your victories? Because I'm just letting the last couple people in here. Well, I've had some good wins. I've had a lot of great conversations with agents over the last week. I just got off one just now, just kind of unexpected. We had another agent that was, basically reaching out to this person, letting them know. And this wasn't even something that you brought to me, Larry. This is organically, growing from with our group. So it's starting to happen along those lines as well. So it's good when we can all start, just keep talking talking about the brokerage, talking about the group, talking about all the great things we have going on. We are leading the charge right now from the way my perspective on this whole NAR buyer's agency situation that's going on. And the reason why I know we're leading the charge is because everybody's bad mouthing us and they're talking smack, and you kind of know that things are going in the right direction when other people are hating you for it. But we're going to keep it going. And I sent out an email earlier today, letting you guys know about some different videos you can watch to bring some more perspective to what you need to have in your arsenal. Leo's a great leader. He had a great call with Tom Ferry, who's a phenomenal real estate coach. That's a great 20-minute video to watch. Russ Lagon did a 2-minute video that, and Russ is great because he's funny, he's personable, but he's direct and to the point. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He just says what he's feeling, what he wants to tell you. He's done. He's not a storyteller necessarily when he doesn't need to be. He's a great storyteller, don't get me wrong, but when he needs to get the point out, he gets it across very quickly. So we have a lot of great momentum going. This is week one, building your foundation. And I see a couple new faces on the call this week, and appreciate you guys coming on. Before we go into the agenda, is there any questions you guys have, or any topics that you want to see us talk about today? Because I have about 30 minutes to offer you guys before I have to jump on my next call. But I'll just open up to the group right now first.
You guys might have been talking about this when I jumped on, but Jared has set 2 appointments, and I mean the first one has pretty much verbally confirmed that he'll be joining us, and then I think we have another one today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's exactly what we were talking about. So it's nice when you start seeing those. It really is. And then when you see your first revenue share check, you'll be even more excited. Mine started small. I think my first revenue share check was $60. Nothing to really get too excited about. But I've 1,000x that since my first revenue share check. So my next check is going to be significantly more than the first one, and that's just after 1 year. So it could be really anybody on this call. And in week 2, we talk about the 1% approach with productivity as being your main focus. For me personally, I want to focus on this 100%. Although I do have some other business interests. I do part-time genealogy. I also run a chiropractic office. So I don't put 40 hours a week into agent attraction. I would say I probably put right now about 10 hours a week in. I think about it 100% of the time. Don't get me wrong. It's not something I ever stop thinking about, but my actual, talking to agents, and that's what when I say working in the business, that's actually when I'm physically talking to somebody. If I'm doing an email or I'm writing a newsletter, that's kind of outside that 10 hours a week. So maybe another 5 hours a week. So maybe 15 hours a week total time. So if you could work 15 hours a week and make, $100,000 a year, would that interest you? It interested me because, I worked a lot harder in my chiropractic business to make the same amount of money working probably 45, 50 hours a week. So this is a better proposition. Now it's a little bit longer runway, but I don't think a year is too long, really, when you think about it. It's especially for myself, having very little background in real estate. I've been a broker for 8 years now, which in the scheme of things isn't a long time. It's, you guys have a lot more experience than I do. But what I did differently than what a lot of other people don't do is I took a system, I wrote a business plan, and I didn't deviate from it one iota. I never got pie in the sky. I never looked at bright, shiny objects. I just focused on the task at hand, which was talking to a boatload of people, on average, probably 5 a day, 4 days a week for a solid year. And I never deviated from that, even when I had no income coming in from this. I knew eventually people would start seeing that we have a better mousetrap, that we have a good thing going on over here at EXP and our group in general. And one thing you guys,
On that note, Eric, I mean, you and I have talked about this. I mean, you went 3 months with working your ass off, right? Call it 4 hours every single week, pouring into it 3 months without seeing anything. But then you start to build this momentum, right? Because we don't talk to people and like, oh, like, why don't you join us, right? Like, we build this rapport, we build this relationship, we built this system and stuff here to add massive value to people, to be there whenever the time is right. But I can tell you, if you guys never talk to anybody on a daily basis, like, nobody's going to join us. And you don't know who the next Eric
looks like Larry's
Bengal is going to be, the next Larry. It changes your life.
Yeah, you don't know. It's and I'm nobody special, but I do have I have an entrepreneurial background, and I have that mindset, which is a little bit different. But before I go into week 1, building our foundation, any questions or anything you guys want to ask about before we get started? Go ahead, Michelle.
I guess my question would be, since I'm new, like defining agent attraction. I'm sure I get the basis of it, but
well, my way I define it is talking to people that know, like, and trust you about what you do, where you're at, what their pain points might be, where they want to see themselves in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, figuring out their problems, that if they're having any, and showing them where they could be in the future. Just making a connection, caring about people, and showing them that there's a group out there that cares as much about them as they do, who truly cares about their success, and if they tap into us, how they can be successful as well. We don't do anything magical here. We just do a lot of engagement, a lot of training, a lot of coaching, a lot of information exchange. That's the best way I can explain it. The newsletter I sent out, the email I sent out today was a response to an agent that reached out to me who's like, oh, everybody's saying all this stuff about buyer agency and EXP. It's like, okay, I got to nip this in the bud. So we got this out, and hopefully it helped agents understand a little bit more where we're coming from, because our leadership is on top of this. They've been on top of this for probably 8 months now. But there's a lot of people that are uneducated and ignorant that don't understand this, and we're just trying to make it more known to them. So agent attraction is just bringing people into your sphere that you want to be around, that want to be around you, that can learn and grow with you. Good, Larry.
And Michon, just think about our 4-year relationship, right? Like, think about that, right? Like, look at that process, because it's not this instant kill because it wasn't the right time for you, right? Like, you had too many things that were tied up. Like, it caused stress for you to think about moving and this and that, right? Until it didn't. And that's when we're there for people, right? So you add massive value, you continue to follow up. And I'm biased because I see the amount of business that Angela's received since we partnered, that Jared's received since we partnered. Like, you show me another company that does anything close to that. Like, and that's not even a company, that is this group, which is where I'm really biased, right? Like, well, I'm happy at my broker. Good. Would you be happier if you had an extra $20 million in production? Like, which one would your family be happier at, right? Like, let me call your wife. Get me on the phone with your significant other. Let me ask her that question, right? So this is where we find out their problems. We create a solution. Oh man, this year has been really slow, right? I'm thinking about this. Really slow? What are you talking about? Like, oh my gosh, let me introduce you to Eric, right? Like, we've been passing out listings like candy and stuff over here, doing this and that. I think they need more agents. And if you're not trained on this side, I could actually train you personally, right? I will walk through these, to make sure that we don't miss the boat, that we don't mess up those relationships, right? And this is where we can start building groups and teams, etc.
Did that answer that question, Michon, or okay?
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah, it's just, it's a relationship game that we're just trying to continue on with. And also for me, one other, point of all this is I truly enjoy meeting with everybody that's on these calls. I mean, it's like, I look forward to it. It's not like it's not something I'm trying to avoid. It's not like going to work and I hate everybody I work with. I really truly enjoy everybody that's on these calls. I look forward to Jeff's calls on, Monday through Friday, Larry's calls on Friday when I can make them. But it's just, for me, this is what keeps me going. We're in a virtual brokerage, but I feel like I know most of the people on this call very well, even though I've never, except for Larry, I've never physically met any of them, yourself included. But any other questions before we start? We really only need a few minutes to go over the agenda today. It's a very short agenda, but any other questions today?
I would just like to point out, like, think about this, guys. We have 603 people in our group that's invited to this call, right? We have 7 people, and one of those is AI. 2 of them are Eric and myself. This is your competition, right? Like, this is your competition for attracting agents. It's probably very similar if you're doing prospecting or something like that. There's very few people that will actually follow the plan. If you follow the plan, it will change your life. Like, I mean, I'm looking at my periodic rev share, like over $20,000 a month passively. Are you willing to do this for 5 people a day for the next 5 to 6 years to be able to set up the rest of your life? It's not going to affect me because Eric and I have seen and do this every single day, but the stories that are like, oh my gosh, this changed my life, right? Like, agents calling and be like, man, I paid all of my utility bills this month because, like, those are cool scenarios, right? That are just a bonus for us helping people and stuff at the end of this. All right, go for your agenda, Eric.
Okay, well, week one, building your foundation. So the first thing you want to do is when you're starting to think about attraction, you want to know who you're going to be attracting. So that's very important. You might want to, take a list, write out names, find a database of people, look at your phone. But the point of it is you want to have a list that you can go to and start to reach out to these people one at a time. I recommend a phone call. I think phone calls are still the best way of doing it. Not everybody's going to pick up the first time. You might leave a message, hey, John, just calling to see how you're doing. And don't make the call a recruiting call. Don't make it hey, I'm calling up to tell you all the great things about EXP and all the things that we're trying to accomplish. You're just calling, you're just making connection with that person. You're seeing how they're doing. You're, engaging with them if you haven't engaged for them for a while. So that's the first part is get your list together. The bigger the list, the better. But keep in mind, if you have a really big list, you got to get through that list. I made 800 calls last year. And when I say a call, this is a call that's lasting more than 10 minutes. So I'm on the phone typically with the person anywhere between 15 and 20, sometimes 30 minutes. I just, fit in a quick 12-minute call before this call with an agent, and I did not get done with the call. And I let her know that I have a mastermind coming up. I'm going to have to call you back. But she got enough of the information where I just saw she put time on my calendar. So so when you're making those initial calls, and we're not going to get into the call today, but keep in mind that when you make the calls, you want to make them to three types of people. You want to call your A's, B's, and C's. Your A's are your people like your family, people that you know very well. You can call them up and talk to them almost like family. B's are people that are you know them well, but not that well. They would be considered maybe cousins or distant cousins, but they know you. You know them. If you saw them in the supermarket, you know who each other was. And C's are people that are known through another person, like maybe a referral. Somebody your insurance broker knows Jim, and you can call this person saying, hey, my insurance broker recommended I call you. So get those lists together, organize them, get them onto a spreadsheet. Even if your spreadsheet's a piece of paper and a pen, just get it where you can physically look at it. And it's not just in your head, because until you actually physically put it on paper, it really is just in your head. And it's just meaningless, quite honestly. You're not going to think about these people enough to give them a call. You want to get them down on paper, and paper could be a computer program, just saying on paper is a generic term. So you can also research other ways to look for leads, but quite honestly, I won't even bother with that until you've exhausted your sphere. And it's taken me it'll take me about 3 years to exhaust my sphere. I haven't quite exhausted it yet, but I'm getting close. And I've had this conversation with Larry. I've had this conversation with Darren, and we know it. We knew this was going to happen. Your sphere, but I'll always reach out to my sphere. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to get another person being attracted to me from that sphere. It's just I've reached out to them. They're on a drip campaign. They're on a follow-up campaign. I've had that initial phone call with them. That's what I mean by exhausted. I don't mean that they're not still being reached out to. They're not still part of a person I want to attract. It's just that initial call is done. I made that call, which is the most important thing, because until you make that first call and you put them on a follow-up campaign, you're just still hoping that they call you, which isn't going to happen. Good, Larry.
On that, thinking about your database and specifically, there's some people, they're happy where they're at. They're never going to move, at least for right now. This is where one of the things that drums up different opportunities, like even the people that I've talked to, hey, look, Mashan, I know that this wasn't a good fit for you, but those companies that we spoke about are needing more listing agents because there's a lot of inventory coming in. I know it wasn't a good fit for you to switch companies, and I respect that. Do you know anybody else that you think would be a good fit? Right? Like, get agents to refer other agents to you, even after we present the opportunity. And a lot of times they'll be like, well, hold on, like, why can't you? Well, you aren't willing to do this. Like this is what my clients have requested, right? Like, I'm not sending a new proposal to them of, well, what if we kept this company and we did like, that's complicated. Like, no, this is what the clients asked for. This is what I'm trying to provide. If it's not you, like, who else, right? Like, send me somebody else at the end of the day.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. So that's step number one, get your list together. So hopefully we're at least thinking along those lines. But until you actually do it, it's still in the thinking stage. So, get that part of it done. Then the next thing you want to start thinking about is how much time are you going to devote to this on a weekly basis? Honestly, it could be an hour a week. It doesn't have to be 5 hours a week. It could be as long as you consistently every week on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, you do it. Meaning you don't focus on anything else. Like I tutor. I like to learn Italian. So what I do is I set up 2 days a week where my tutor is on my schedule. Well, I'm paying him. He's on my schedule. I have to be on that call. It's not an option for me. Well, it is an option. I could not be on the call, but I'm still going to have to pay him. But my point is, and Jeff brought this up today during our call, is agents aren't very good at budgeting their own time because they don't have a boss or somebody that's overlooking them, making sure they get the work done. So it's really up to us to budget our own time to do what we want to do with that time. But have 1 day a week or 2 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever, but have a specific time, same day, same time every week where you do attraction. And what I'm saying is you pick up the phone and you call your sphere. And it's not a long call. It's a 5-minute call because you're not trying to have the call with them right then and there. You're just trying to set up a discovery call with them. You're just calling them up saying, hey, I might have caught you at a bad time, but I really want to tell you about an opportunity I have with this asset management company called American Destiny Real Estate. They're sending me a lot of business. I'd love to have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit more about this. Could I set up a time on your schedule where we can do this? And that's it. And then you set up a time with them. Then when you have the call with them, then you can go into a little bit more detail. You can have 15, 20 minutes. That's when you ask them about the family, how they're doing, how's business, what opportunities have they had. And then you have a particular product that you want at the end of that call, which would be to either set them up with myself or Larry for a 3-way call to talk a little bit more about those opportunities. And at that point, we're still not going to try to close them on EXP. We still want to try to drive value to them and see what kind of value that they even need. Some agents are, like Larry said, some agents are fine. They're not going to need us. They're perfectly happy. They're not going to change. But some aren't, and some are going to come along. And the agents that I know that have come within our group over the last year, I have 2 agents right now that are in the first 7 months of this year. They've already done over 10 million in production. That's pretty good. And Jared, you're not probably even one of those I'm mentioning because I don't get your numbers because you're under Darren. So I'm just talking about people that are directly underneath myself in EXP. So I have 2 over 10 million and like 2 more and like 5 more over 5 million. And that's in 7 months. That ain't too bad in the real estate field, especially during what a lot of people would consider to be a down market. We're not seeing that at all. We're seeing, the agents that want to be busy, they're busy. They're getting production. So build your foundation. 2 steps really. Get your list together. Set up your time. Set up your schedule. If you need somebody to keep you accountable for making those calls, that could be your sponsor. That could be me. That could be Larry. Just tap into us on a weekly basis. Set up let's have a 5-minute call once a week where we just discuss where you're going. It could be during this call, but if you don't want it to be during this call, we can do it during another call. But the important thing is that you're reaching out. Because if you don't reach out, I did this last year. Everybody knows that my wife was running for re-election for her position as a judge. I took 3 months off of attraction. Well, in those 3 months, I brought absolutely 0 people over to the organizational side because I wasn't making calls. The only way I can probably get away with that now is that I have another full year of making calls, and I am getting some residual people calling me just because they know of our group, or because, you know, they're having a conversation with another agent that's wanting to talk to me. But you don't have that luxury right now until you've made until you've spoken to 1,000 people with 30-minute calls. That's not going to organically come back to you. You got to make sure that people understand who you are, what you're about, what your group's about, what they have to offer, and how you can get them to engage and be part of all this. So, well, that's week 1, building your foundation. Any questions? Anything else you guys want to review? And the notes are in the newsletter, so if you want to review all 6 weeks, you can review them all. But you want to get started with the foundation. You know, when you build a house, you build a solid foundation. When you build agent attraction, you need to build a solid foundation. So those are the 2 things you need: is a list and time to work that list, that sphere.
One thing that I would add to that, part of the process that we've created that's worked really well, like I'm always open for those conversations, but the combination of Eric's conversations and my conversations has the highest closing ratio. So again, I'm not saying I can't do it by myself. I'm not saying Eric can't do it by myself. The process of introducing to Eric and then funneling through for him to get time on my calendar and this, and along with all of the steps in between, has the highest conversion ratio. So if you guys have that opportunity, right? Jared was different, right? He had a blunt, direct conversation with a guy, that he knew personally. And like, that is all that we were talking about. Boom. Yes. Let's go in. Let's close this, right? Like, let's wrap this up. The gentleman Chad today, like, is that the same scenario? From what I've gathered, we've had no conversations about EXP or anything like that. And this was something that I was going to reach out to you on anyway. So since I have you here, does he know anything about EX? Are we just talking about the REO space? Like, what's that conversation need to look like?
Yeah, he doesn't know that he's going to be sold on EXP today. He was,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so then I'm probably not trying to sell him on it today. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add him to my referral database, right? We're going to get him in. Now I'm going to invite him to the REO Alliance. And now that we're going to do this, and then probably in 3 weeks, he'll set an appointment with me, because I'll send him an email that says, hey, loved our conversations about doing more in the REO space. I think that you would be a good fit. I have 3 or 4 different asset management companies that partner together. If you're interested, put time on my calendar. And then I'll send you a note that says, hey, Jared, Chad just signed up for this, right? Because I track and measure all of this stuff. So again, I just wanted to clarify that. The other gentleman was a little bit different on that. But yeah, that's how I'll play this one. It won't be a closing of any sort, because if I was to roll that out, like, you would see the sales wall go up, and like, we would break rapport and relationship instantly.
And he's in my MLS. He's not in my direct market. He's a couple counties north of me, but he had REO experience before COVID, several of them. Like most people, a lot of that went away after COVID.
Yeah.
He really would like the opportunity to get busy with clients again. And I feel like if we could just express the value of the group, your relations, etc. He doesn't have the production right now that he wants, and you got to be in the right space when the opportunities come.
Yeah, we will do that. And here's the thing: if you guys want to learn, like, these skills that I use, I can apply to any industry, any conversation, etc. There's a large group of us, including Eric Bangle, including Jeff and Kelly Russell. We're all going to be in Newark, New Jersey, learning. Like, I learned this from Tony Robbins. If you guys can make it to UPW in Newark, New Jersey this November, it will change your life. Like, personally, financially, spiritually, like, every bucket that you need to tap into every day, it will change your life. Would love to see you guys there. I do got to jump on another call, but I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon here.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Yeah, I have to jump also. Any other questions? Any other final thoughts before we end off today? And by the way, we did record this. This will be up on the YouTube in probably the next half hour. So, and if you guys need any, personal one-on-one coaching, if you want to talk to me about an agent that you're thinking about or want to bring over, just call me or set up time on my calendar. But, as a member of our group, you can just call me. If I can't answer, I'll text you back. I just had an agent call me while we're in the call. I told her I'll call her back in 5 minutes. So, I'll always get back to you guys. So, all right. Well, you guys have a good rest of the day. Again, anything comes up, just give me a holler.
Bye.
We'll see you. Thanks.
Thanks.